This place is a mess. How's it going, everyone? David from dodmedia. Today we're going to be having a look at the Falconeyes SO-28 TD flat LED diffused panel light thing. Let's go. So behind me over there is where I normally do my gear reviews. I've got my Aperture 120D set up in a beauty dish, and it's all just kind of set up and ready to go on that gear bench. This area here is where I normally do my tutorials because I've got my computer here, I've got my drives here. I don't want to have to run an HDMI cable all the way over there just to have that background for a tutorial, because most of the time I'm actually showing what's happening on the screen, not me. But the issue that I have with lighting this area is that not only am I against a wall, pretty much the monitor's like right up against the wall, but I'm also in a corner. So that means that having the Aperture 120D in the beauty dish or in the light dome is just not possible. There's just not enough room. Now, it just so happened, rather serendipitously, that I was asked if I would like to review the Falconeyes unit, and I thought, you know what? It's a small form factor LED panel that's already diffused. It's on that nice bracket, so moving it is not going to be an issue. I don't have to get a boom arm to be able to angle it down or put it on some kind of ball head or something like that. I can just twist it on the frame, and it's got a really high CRI color value of 95. So you know what? Yeah, I will give that a try. I already had the Yongnuo YN600 Air panel, which is also an already diffused LED panel. But I found that despite the color CRI being advertised as 95 plus, it just wasn't. I was getting really purple skin tones, especially the further away, whoop, creaky chair. The further away from the source of light you move, the more you noticed. That's a really creaky chair. The further away from the source of light you moved, the more you noticed that that color was just not accurate. Those skin tones were really losing their original shade, and it was tinting them with this kind of ugly purple magenta kind of tint. So I thought, right, the Yongnuo, great light, very nice, very cheap, but not for skin tones. So instead, it's busy lighting my subtextual branding over there, which I bet you hadn't even noticed, but now can't stop looking at it. So the light itself is a 28 watt panel, thus the 28 in the name. I wouldn't say 28 watts is enough to act as a key light all by itself, but with the help of my computer monitor, with the BenQ strip LED that's on top there, it has plenty of punch to give me some top-down lighting for these videos. So this is what the light is actually providing to this shot right now. If I pull the plug, don't do that at home. Well, this is my background lighting in action. I've got my background over there, lighting the branding. I've got my studio lighting background over there, and then I've got my monitor casting a bit of light, and then this LED strip by BenQ as well, casting light on my desk. So now if I plug it back in, there you go. That is all provided by that Falconeyes. I haven't got any modifiers in front of it because the light itself is already pre-diffused. Well, it has a diffusion panel in the light, so you don't need to diffuse it any further yourself. As I mentioned, the panel has a CRI rating of 95, which means that my skin tones should stay fairly accurate, regardless of how close or far or bright or dim the light actually is. Now, I wouldn't usually opt for a panel that has an adjustable color temperature. The reason being that half of the LEDs in the panel are 3000 Kelvin, half of the LEDs in the panel are 5600 Kelvin, and then you set your color temperature by mixing a certain amount of both of those lights, warm and cool. But then if you just wanted to sit at 5600 Kelvin, effectively you've only got half of the LEDs in the panel actually on. The other half are off because they're only tungsten. And so usually I'd try and steer clear of variable color temperature lights. I would much rather have one constant daylight thing like the Aperture 120D. And if I want to warm it up, I just put a little bit of CTO gel on it and that warms it up to my controlled amount. But in this case, since it's not my only source of light, since I'm actually mixing it with a computer monitor and with this strip light here, which is lighting up my desk nicely, I don't have as much control over the color temperature of my monitor, or at least not as much as I have with these lights. And so being able to tweak the color temperature a little bit just so that it looks as good as it can in camera rather than having to try and change stuff in post, while also giving me enough power that I need for this particular setup, well, it works pretty well. You adjust the brightness and the color temperature by using the touchpad on the back, and I find this is a really responsive touchpad. It works very well. You can quickly and accurately dial in the values you want dialed in. I actually feel like I kind of prefer the touchpad to an actual dial, except when I can't see the back of the light. Then I don't know where I'm touching and I end up changing the channel on the wireless setting and all of that stuff. It has its pros and its cons. Pros is that it just really reduces the size of the entire unit. Cons, well, you can't just kind of blind tweak. You have to really flip the thing around and tweak it there and then flip back, or buy the remote, which comes separately at a cost. The panel runs on battery power or mains power, and you can see there's a dedicated switch to choose between the two. Since I plan to keep the light there permanently, I just have it running on mains, which is included in the box, really just so I don't have to be changing batteries in and out every time I film a tutorial. But if you did want to run it on batteries, it accepts the Sony NPF style batteries, so like the Sony NPF 970, beast of a thing here. This isn't actually the Sony one, this is a non-brand, well, it's a DSTE branded NPF style battery, which leads me on to my next point. The contacts in the unit itself don't seem to stay connected when it's upside down, which means that the battery slips out just enough so that those pins are no longer providing juice to the panel. Now that may be the panel's fault, or it may be my battery's fault, because as I say, these aren't official Sony batteries. It may be that they're not quite designed the same way as the Sony ones are, which would give constant pin contact. But it's just something to be aware of. But then again, to be honest, I don't know why you'd be using the panel upside down, because it's on a bracket, so it's kind of an irrelevant point. Just a good point to make nonetheless. So would I recommend this light to you if you're looking to film videos like this? Yes, if. I'd recommend it if you're in a tight space like this, in a corner where you haven't got room to put a 120D in a light dome and have that, you know, floating down over your entire desk. If you have not got the room, if you're tight on space, or if you wanted to have this as a very flat ceiling level hairline light, well then, yeah, then I would recommend it. Where I wouldn't recommend this is if you're looking to use this as your sole key light for a shoot where you want the light to really look as soft as possible. And the reason being, the surface area of the light, which is about that big, is just not enough to diffuse light well or softly enough that you're not going to notice any kind of harsh shadows. So the kind of really soft lighting that you get from a COB chip LED panel through a modifier like the 120D through the light dome, it's just not a big enough surface area to give you that. However, I do know that they also make bigger panels. They make a 48 watt version and a 68 watt version. And the 68 watt version, pretty damn big. And again, it's pre-diffused, it's in a bracket, so you can angle it however you want. You don't need a fancy light stand, you just need the cheapest, flimsiest aluminium crap that you can put it on. You don't even need a light stand, you could just use a clamp if you wanted to clamp it to something. The only difference is they output more light over a bigger surface area so that you get a softer looking light. So for now, the SO-28 TD is perfect. It fits all my needs for tutorials like this. But down the road, I may end up getting something a little bit bigger, maybe the 48, maybe even the 68 TD. And maybe I'll take this one and put it overhead flush to the ceiling to illuminate these shoulders, the back of that hair. All right, that's it for me. Thank you for watching. There are links in the description if you are interested in getting this light or one of the other versions of the light. If you click that link and you buy something with it, it will give me a small commission, which won't cost you anything. It'll just cost Amazon. It's called an affiliate link, and I would very much appreciate you supporting this channel by using it if you're gonna buy it. All right, give it a thumbs up if you liked what you saw, and hit that subscribe button to get more videos like this and tutorials from dodmedia. Make sure to check out my Instagram as well. I'm determined to reach 1,000 followers there. It's gonna happen soon, I feel it. Let me know what you thought down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.